Welcome back to Talking Shop, a series of fun conversations with consummate concert artists, composers, opera singers, and choreographers. I couldn't be more delighted to have with us today Andi Schermoly. Andi was born in South Africa. She's the resident choreographer for the Louisville Ballet and an internationally sought after freelance artist. She has created and staged works for ballet companies across the globe, and her work spans commercial and film, as well as numerous ballet companies. We're so glad to have you on Talking Shop, Andi.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Good. I'm going to start out asking the first question I always ask my guests, which
Yeah.
is what does being a choreographer mean to you personally?
What a great question. So, me, it is um unavoidable. That's what I would say. I've choreographed since I was born. I really truly believe that. It's just something that has driven me and been my way of expressing myself and also the way I think internally. So, what does it mean to me? It means a way of life. I think I've done things that have helped it along or added to it in terms of learning skills and going to acting school and even trying to sort of deviate from the dance world in general at one point, but it was a calling.
Um, I get similar answers from everyone, but I really love to hear this personal, the way people put it, in their own language, because it's similar, but it's always very different too with each
Yeah.
person. And I
Yeah.
love asking that question. It's just it inspires me. Your role at Louisville Ballet seems pretty expansive. Would you please tell us more about how you collaborate with musicians, and also tell us more about your vision of a creative platform for the dancers? That's something I'm fascinated by that concept, the company as a whole, and also for your own creative pursuits.
Well, let me start at the beginning. So Louisville Ballet, I've had a long-standing relationship with. It's over a decade now. And resident choreographer was brought in by our former director, Robert Curran. We had a wonderful relationship, and he really provided a platform for me to experiment. I think for all of the choreographers at the time that he brought in to experiment, to truly feel free to try out new things and treat it obviously like a professional experience, which it is, but to have a lab of sorts of people that also know you so that your language becomes something that's more familiar and the relationships are then deeper and you can dig deeper. We've had I think I've had a really lucky and fortunate time of collaborating with the orchestra several times, which has not happened for everyone. It's always the best thing to collaborate with the musicians, any musician. I think that's something that's lacking right now, just in terms of funding and in the way that the art is shaping at the moment. So I really that's important to me. So I've worked with Louisville Orchestra not just playing in the pit, but actually on stage. We've done two collaborations. One was for with Teddy Abrams at the helm, who's still the director there and conductor.
Mhm.
And I have an Appalachian Spring that we did together. And so it was staged in like a Marley panel in front with orchestra on stage, both together. And then we've done the same thing with Judith. Um, I've also done, what have I done? With the Appalachian Spring will actually come up next season again. So that's been repeated several times. And that'll be the same setup with them on stage with us, which it's just beautiful. I mean, that mixture, because you have a mixture of audience members that are both Louisville Orchestra subscription and the ballet subscription. It just invites everyone to enjoy the arts in the city and see that
Yeah. Yeah.
melt, and to have the energy of the musicians, and to have also done such an iconic American piece was very touching. And yeah, I was honored to do that and honored to collaborate with Teddy too. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I've I've had two experiences with them live like that on stage. We also our orchestra has played for me. I've done a Mahler piece with them, and then we've had several. Robert really encouraged doing live music um, interactions and collaborations over the years. There's a very well-known jazz vibraphonist named
Uh-huh.
Dick Sisto, who I've
Uh-huh.
done a jazz piece with him and a jazz band that
Oh,
were
fun.
put together from Chicago and New York. And yeah, he's awesome. He was
Yeah.
like the coolest cat. And I love jazz, but I really had to deep dive and learn more through him and with him, especially with his catalog. So it
Yeah.
was his music live on stage, band on stage, dancers on stage. My brother did the set for it. It was very cool. Um, yeah, we've had several things like that. And the first initial piece I ever did was for their workshop, which was just in the in the rehearsal space, and that was with Tim Barnes, also a local musician. So that's been a through line with Louisville Ballet, and I, I I'm I feel truly so fortunate that I've had the opportunity, and that those people have been so excellent as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I love hearing you talk about that. And then I'm trying to picture the orchestra on stage with the dancers and just how marvelous that must be. And I also love the point you made about the mixing of the season subscribers. And
absolutely.
yeah, we experience that here. I guess the best experience example of that is the Nutcracker each year, because our Richmond Symphony plays for that. And of course, any ballet stage at the Carpenter Center is that way, but it's a marvelous experience. But just thinking of the orchestra on stage with the dancers is really, really exciting to me.
Yeah, and they feed off of each other. I mean, that energy is
Yeah.
magical. That I think the orchestra I know enjoyed it just as much as the dancers did. It was so impactful for everyone.
Yeah, and I can just imagine, the energy that, it's a new energy for both groups of people. It's a new energy for the dancers to be right there with, and an orchestra, the sound is just surrounding and expansive, and for the orchestra, to have the physical embodiment of that music just right next to them.
Yeah.
That's one thing I love about dancing. I've taken classes at Richmond Ballet for 12 years now, and it's just with my background and everything, it was just opened up a whole new world of being able to feel the music in my body as I
Amazing.
moved. It's really amazing, and I'm addicted. I can't stop.
Yeah.
um,
100%.
but let's talk a little bit more. You mentioned your brother did the set, so I didn't know about this. Do you work with him often, and tell us about his work and how it is working together with him?
Yes, I do actually. That's come about gradually. We've always wanted to work together since we were younger. We're both in the arts. My whole family are in the arts. Um, and we've had opportunities for small things over the years, and now those have grown into much bigger projects more often. And I love collaborating with him. So we have done a Rite of Spring together. I filmed a full film
Oh
Rite
my
of Spring, which
gosh.
I directed, and he did the set design for. I choreographed and directed, film directed with it for it. And he's recently just done my full length Carmen with Charlotte. That was his design as well. We've done Vibes, which was the vibraphonist with Dick Sisto, and we've done Asila and Oregon Ballet Theater together. We've done more than that. I have to think about that. Anyway, we have a catalog of like maybe 6 or 7 already at this point, and then prior small ones. I often call them just also like workshop and
Yeah.
um,
I think that's so wonderful.
yeah,
That's really awesome.
it's
Um,
great.
yeah, I think it's really family, and I'm really excited to hear that Rite of Spring has been made into a film, and I guess Carmen too. You said Rite of Spring is pretty special to me and my husband because that was kind of our initial experience with the ballet here in Richmond, and it's where we met Valerie Tellman and Lauren Fagoni, and all the people that as well, and just really. And I started taking lessons at the intro class that summer, and just we really were just drawn in, to work, the supporting and attending ballet and just getting involved, and that's how ballet became a part of our life. So Rite of Spring is really, really special, and I would love to see that film with your choreography. It has to be amazing. Yeah.
Yes, and me too.
Um, so and I love how you talked about being free to experiment. I think any creator, that's just one of the greatest gifts. Can you
Mm.
tell us a little bit about maybe your creative process and what being able to experiment like that contributes to that and means to you as an artist?
Um, it's everything, really, actually, because I think relationships are the most important. These are live humans, experienced artists, and they have worlds of their own that they want to share and collaborate with. So I think the trust factor comes up with being given enough time. Time, I think, is the most important thing. So it's not always the case, but I have had the luxury in years past where we would even do summer workshops that were sponsored. So without the intent of going onto stage, you could actually experiment with your ideas and workshop ideas rather than having an end deadline for a show, which then, takes the pressure off of a performance and also takes the pressure of sculpting something that's complete. So it's really workshopping things, ideas with people where they feel free to also collaborate, and you can keep building on that over the years. So
Mm-hmm.
it, I really can't even talk about that enough because I think time is not our friend anymore in the
Right,
studio. That's
right.
no one's fault. It's just the way companies are structured at the moment. It's the way funding is structured. It's the pressure on the dancers to learn a lot of new material really quickly. And as you know, even with any art, like learning it is not the essence of it. I mean, the learning is the first step. And I'm not even teaching. The experiment part of that would be collaborating,
Right.
ideas, workshopping ideas, the whys and hows, seeing what's working, taking time away, coming back again, seeing what's
Yep.
really working, and then having the luxury to edit as well,
Yes.
So and those ideas, when you sit with people over a longer period of time, I don't think it was as evident to me. Some of the workshops that I did even 12 years ago, I wasn't even sure where they were leading. And so many nuclei of those things that I did, I've now branched out and kept trying those tasks in different places and growing them out. So
That's the
you
beauty of
don't
it.
know where it's going to land.
I
Yeah.
know, I know. And it's so exciting because you just don't know. I mean, as a composer, I find things just coming out of me all of a sudden, and I'm sure you had the same experience as a choreographer, and these ideas just flow through you. And the lovely thing about having the time, as you say, in these in workshopping things, trying things, see if they work, seeing what doesn't work, getting other people's input. It just I can really relate to how that refines your own work and gives you ideas to work with, whether it's the way they presented them or using that in a different way. It's we could, you're right, we could talk about that all day. It's really fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to Carmen. I love opera, as you know. Carmen was a formative experience for me when I was in the ninth grade in high school. I was a cigarette girl for the Memphis Opera
Very
production,
nice. Love
and
it.
it was just I just fell in love with them. Being around opera people was such an exhilarating experience, and Bizet's music is just incredible and unsurpassed. And of course, I say that about every composer that I play and love. But there's just something very special about this opera, in my view. I think it
Mhm.
combines so many human nature aspects. It's the story is just phenomenal, and you have reimagined that with by telling the story from a woman's perspective, which I find is just absolutely fascinating. Would you share with us more about your experience in the process of making a ballet set to Carmen's story and Bizet's music from that perspective, and what helped you decide to do it that way?
Um, well, the invitation helped me decide to do it that way, which I'm really thankful for Alejandro Tharudo. He's the director of Charlotte Ballet. So we had been talking about various ideas for a couple of years, and then Carmen came up as an idea. And I'm just glad that he was on board with that and wanted that as well. And I thought it was great to take on a woman's perspective of it because the original book is written from a man's perspective. Well, from a lens of a man's perspective.
Yes,
You,
yes,
it's got a tunnel through somebody else. But um I mean, she's iconic as a figure, and she's clearly feisty and embodies all the things that were not so feminine and not particularly uh
opposed to.
supported as proper female
Yes,
behavior. She's a wild free bird. And
yeah,
but I think um a couple things struck me. Was one, I didn't want to appropriate any cultural things that were not my stories to tell, firstly, and also that I couldn't implant into. So I changed the time period. We set it in 1973 in Vegas. And part of that was also the Romany aspect, when she was known as a gypsy, which we don't say anymore, but like that nomadic free agent kind of um othered group.
Yeah.
uh I wanted to translate that in a different way that didn't have so many points of criticism.
Hmm.
So, and something that I felt comfortable to tell. So she's a showgirl in Vegas, and the showgirls are that they're entrepreneurial, they're freelancers, they're free spirits, they're dancers, they're very sexy. That they embody something that seems like more of a nomadic free agent lifestyle, and also that something that's very not proper lady behavior.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the
All
parallels
of
of
that.
that were like really good for that. But
Yeah.
um yeah, so taking it out of the time period, putting it from her perspective and the fact of like, what does she want and what's her MO in life? Like, why does she go through these men? What is it she's looking for? Who is she? So that she's not a vehicle for Don Jose's demise, that we get to know her as much as we get to know the other men.
Yeah. I really love that aspect because um, we our opera, our Virginia opera put that opera on this past season, and it was absolutely glorious. But just hearing you say that, it makes me think back and realize how much of the story is told from Don Jose's perspective, and
Yeah.
how he's jealous, and just his insatiable desire for her drives him to actually kill the object of his love. Is just
Mhm.
that just sounds amazing. So I can't wait to see that. Um, I really want to see one of your story ballets. You've reimagined a lot of famous stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know that you've also created other works. So would you tell us a little bit about, is there a difference when you're working on a well-known story ballet like that, like the Rite of Spring, like some of the other ballets you've reimagined, and then just creating a different, kind of work from your own ideas?
Yeah, yes, the pressure's bigger just because those are really well-known pieces with great versions that exist already. So
Yeah.
one is like living up to good versions, majestic versions that already exist, and then um having a point of view that it's the why. Why do this again? Why tell this story again? What's different about it? What do we learn that's different about it? I think inherently from a woman's perspective, you're going to learn something different. And movement language has obviously evolved since some of those have been done, so that the movement is richer, maybe more athletic, maybe more virtuosic. The dancers are so incredible these days. They're a hybrid of everything. So um it's different in the fact that you still have to really do the story justice. And if you're going to take a slant on it, my Rite of Spring is very different. But it was set in COVID, which was it gave such a great platform and bubble for something that was also a really good parallel. And
Well,
I
I'd
think
love to
it
hear
was
more about
as
that. Yeah.
impactful. Yeah, my instead of having my woman be the sacrifice, they were all stranded on a planet. It was like a seeded planet of people that were trying to create a community outside of Earth because Earth was plagued, and so they once being transported, they'd been out there for a couple of years, but they'd been living in a bunker because the plague had come into being there as well, and they were on the search for the person that still was sick because somebody is still sick in the group, and so
Oh.
the whole thing revolves around trying to find the sick person, which they eventually do, and they are rescued by an Earth mission, which then takes them all back to Earth, but they have to leave the sick person behind.
Oh my gosh.
So, and it's a man, so it's different. It was obviously because of the timing of it was raw
Yeah.
and hit home. So I
Yeah.
had like it just pulled on people's emotional chords at that time, but it yeah, very eerie.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
did a great job of it at Louisville Ballet. I think, I mean, you you couldn't have more research than what we were going through in COVID.
Right. Exactly. I'm just
Okay.
fascinated by your imagination and the perspectives you come up with. It's just really, really phenomenal.
It's
I just,
fun.
we could sit here and talk all day about different ballets that you created and reimagined. And so we'll just have to come back and explore that a little bit deeper at another time. Um,
Mhm.
I wanted to go a little bit toward something I read in one of your bios recently that said that you do commercial and film work too, which is just fascinating to me. And of course, it makes sense when you think about it. It's just, I think, I don't know if it's me or if everyone else feels that way too. I just don't normally think of a ballet choreographer, necessarily doing commercial and film work. But talk to us about how you got into that and um, what are the things you enjoy about that that may be different than choreographing for ballet, and just all the fun and exciting things that you've experienced in that regard?
There's actually a lot of dancers that do this, a lot of choreographers. I think it's shifted in the
Okay.
decade, maybe.
Okay.
Mhm. And I think also dance is more prevalent. Obviously, music videos have always had dance in them.
Right.
And but there is more dance on TV. Like I mean, even in TikTok, you see the infiltration of the dance world just, in our what we're consuming all the time. But film work, I think, also cha- um took a turn during COVID because choreographers were forced to learn how to create for film so that we had a platform to
Hmm.
express and
Hmm.
keep
Hmm.
things relevant.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, there have been a lot of choreographers that have been done good film work actually. And there's been film work for a number of years in dance for film festivals. Like, and I lived in LA. I went from living in Holland to living in LA, which is, a film capital of the world. So one of a few, but for sure I was immersed with a community that was very high-end filmmakers and screenwriters, and I really got lucky. I just landed with my butt in the butter with meeting so I mean you meet people in LA regardless, but I actually ended up working in an environment that exposed me to more people like that, and that community just grew, and we workshop projects and we talked about stuff, and I went to acting school for 2 years as well. So in acting school I was meeting a lot of filmmakers. um, but I actually one of my I'd say like a mentor and a friend and really a guiding light for that kind of stuff was a woman called Sarah Elgart, and she was doing a lot of film work at the time in LA, and she roped me in to help her and assist on many, many projects. So I learned with her. I then went and did my own stuff alone. And I've learned from doing film, and those projects have just grown. And once you have a name, people see you've done stuff, and it's a word of mouth network.
Of course.
But the the commercial work is strange as a freelance job only because you don't plan it out. It's very like, I mean, as you know, like film work comes right up to the end and sometimes it doesn't happen. The budget might fall through, the production might fall through. Like sometimes you get a call a week before for a giant project, which is very strange to plan your year around. So people living in LA, you're going to have far more opportunity if you're there and ready to go. Where
Right.
I was also doing concert work at the same time. So it's harder to like get your all your ducks in a row. But I was living in there at the time, and yeah, I think my brain works in film quite a lot naturally. And the medium is different. You asked about that is the way you construct for it.
Hmm.
It's different, A, because editing is your best friend.
Right.
Editing is the medium, is a
Right.
film's medium, So the director's point of view, like even for Rite of Spring, you have my whole storyboard, your shot list is already planned with how you have to edit it that way.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
can't edit something you don't have.
Hmm.
So in terms of even storyboarding things, that's helped me in my narrative work working up later with
Hmm.
concert work and really being clever and clear about how to structure. But film work's so fun because you can get close up.
Yeah.
Small things
Yes.
read so intensely. So the beauty of of being um attentive to detail was really interesting. And then also knowing how you were going to work that detail it's just a great medium. I love film. I think it's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can shoot a similar thing a couple times over and get the perfect shot as well.
That's the
You don't have one chance
that's
at
the
it
luxury too.
unless the light's fading or various time clock for production, but to some extent you can attempt to get the perfect shot.
Yes. Yes.
um but it's so I like the visceral nature of being up close. I think that's really it grabs me. It's cool. I enjoy it a lot. So
Yeah.
my mind works like that a lot, but then you actually have to shift when you do concert work. You have to remember, like, it has made me pause. I've thought, okay, it's made me think viewers need room to get to know the people on stage. But of course, you have to think landscape and then somehow also then construct it cinematically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just a whole complete, and actually also in terms of who performs,
Yes.
It's incredible to me over the years to see people that perhaps you don't think are the most adept dancers in concert world, but are just phenomenal on screen. They just have whatever that takes, that the shadows hit them in the right place. Their face looks phenomenal on camera. Like, so you've got this other thing that happens with film where you're just like that person just shines and the camera just loves them. And you don't always see that immediately in a concert
Yeah,
situation.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's amazing. Um, I can't, I'm just sitting here thinking, how does each inform the other? And of course they have to, and yet they're just such different genres. You just have to go into a different mode for each one, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So, but it's got to be really, really exciting and wonderful work. I mean, on both counts, and just in different ways in their um, respective ways.
You
Um,
have to be okay with like it's the biggest difference is, especially with Rite of Spring, and I was really such a stickler about this, is that film lasts forever, and you can see all the mistakes. So it's in the concert world, you almost the mistakes are kind of sometimes beautiful magic as well. Like
yeah,
you can forgive certain things or you can let something live in a different way each time. But on film, it has to look really good because it's
yeah.
close up and your eye sees everything immediately.
Yeah, yeah. I'm one of these people who will watch a movie 20 or 30 times minimum, and each time I pick up something different. So, it's so true. And I get what you're saying about the film has to be right. And of course, you can't, it's just fascinating to me how when you watch a film over and over again, even one that you know really well, there's
Yeah,
always something nuanced that you notice that's different. And
totally.
it's just the nature of art, I think, and it's really, really beautiful. And I think that also applies to seeing different interpretations of ballets we know so well, like the Rite of Spring, like Carmen, like
Yeah.
just so many others, Cinderella, Giselle, all these different things. Speaking of Giselle, you have this beautiful middle name, Giselle. Would you tell us a little bit about that and how that I mean, has that impacted your identity as a choreographer? I mean, talk to us about that.
Yeah, sure. My mom's name is Giselle, so it's my mom's name, it's my middle name, but she is named after the ballet. So, but she goes by Gigi,
Ah,
which also has a great movie,
yes, I started to say, like the
Giselle.
Corona, how can you,
Yeah,
it's just win, win, win here.
yeah, and I grew up on that musical and loved it as
Oh
well.
my
So
gosh.
I liked having I've always loved having the middle name Giselle. I think primarily because I think people think I'm a man when they see Andy written.
Uh-huh.
So like it defines with at least without seeing a portfolio picture, you're like, oh, Andy Giselle, most likely a woman.
Yeah, yeah.
And also being connected to the ballet, I love the music of Giselle. I love it, and it's been my one of my favorite ballets for a long time. So it was just nice to have that connection. I think it makes you feel destined whether you are or not.
I felt that immediately when I saw that. I was like, oh, her middle name is Giselle. How amazing is that? It really
Yeah.
struck me. Yeah, I actually absolutely love that for you. Okay, so let's pick up from there, and we're backtracking a lot. How did you, I guess, get into what you do? What were your early beginnings like? I mean, I know so many artists like myself. It's just all I've ever known since been on this earth. But talk to us about how that developed at an early age, and when it developed, and the things that contributed to your development as a choreographer.
Well, my family are all artists. My
Right,
being a set designer, you went to Northwestern. My mom was a dancer. My
right.
mom's mom was a dancer and fine artist, a sculptor and painter. And my grandfather on that side um, is a reputable, he's passed away, painter and artist in South Africa. So the lineage has been pretty deep for a long time. And my dad is also an artist. So that whole, the
Wow.
growing up in that was like the Gertrude Stein salon. I felt like my family table was always an art salon. Like we were talking shop all the time, whether it was just especially spearheaded by my grandfather, who would not only educate us on things like that, and we were in his studio with all the palettes and stuff all the time and listening to what he's saying, and he would question us on things and question us about structure and question us about and talk about various paint and all just the amount of material that was always around us growing up. And then our education provoked and encouraged in terms of that, like, and not pedantically, but really encouraged to have imagination about it and
Yeah.
ask questions about it. And
Yeah.
we just talked shop all the time, my whole life, really.
Truly, really, truly in your blood. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The dancing part of it, I think, was it was unavoidable, I guess. I don't think I was forced into it. My mom was dancing and I saw it and I wanted to do it, but I was already doing it when I was very little. And I
Yeah.
started, in formal classes when I was 3, still like just creative movement, and
Right.
then moved up as I was doing it. But I do actually, and my mother and I talk about this a lot, I do attribute so much of my love and endearing long-term love to my first teachers, which I really always am so I'm a big proponent of telling parents with their kids is like not to put them in regimented class. You can have a good structured class, really good structured class with little ones, but the imaginative part of it that I was involved in, like, was so stimulating that
Yeah.
you don't have to be like that 3 and 4-year-old range sets up such a tone for what you feel about dance and the way your brain works. So I feel like those first teachers I had were amazing. I'm just really lucky that I went there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wonderful. And I think I remember also reading that you solicited your friends to let you make choreography on them. Is that correct?
My best friend and I in grade school, I mean, I choreographed all the time. Both my best friends, my grade school and my high school bestie, and my grade school best friend and I, we were just obsessed with Michael Jackson. We made so many Michael Jackson duets. I mean, I don't even, and we would have full-on shows for everybody every night.
That just sounds
Yeah.
so tremendously fun. I
It
really, really love that. Oh my gosh. What a glorious upbringing and childhood, you've had. I know that I'm sure there have been challenges. We all face challenges, but as someone who didn't grow up in that atmosphere, it just sounds really lovely that you had that influence and you were nurtured in that artistic bent from multiple aspects. Um, so I just really think it's lovely, and look at how it's benefited all of us. You give so much to the world and so much joy and sharing your artistry. It's really, really wonderful.
You
Um,
to that point, I must say it's one of the, I think, thank you for saying that. I think being in a family that it never even occurred to me that women don't do that is
mm,
something profound.
yeah,
Because also in South Africa, I had female choreographer role models, and in my family, my mom, my grandmother are strong ladies, and they are very skilled and do whatever they want in terms of like career. It was just never occurred to me that that's something you don't do. I always did it just with it was I've met people later in life, especially when I moved to London, that I see that it was a restriction or just not even an opportunity or an option until they were later considering it. And I do feel that that's the luckiest thing, that my dad and my grandfather were always, without even questioning, we're like, of course you can do this. You're a creator, you're an artist. We're gonna do, and I was like, oh, I just do that. It's not even an allowance or anything.
it's a huge, huge gift.
Yeah, I was free to think that that was a possible destiny for me, like, and without even talking about it out loud, it was just presented that way.
That's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I want to go back to your acting because I have um, taken several method acting classes online with Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute, and they have really, really changed my entire approach to performing,
Mhm.
to composing, and just so many aspects of it. It's become another aspect of my way of life. And I
Mhm.
know you said you went to acting class, so I'd love to hear more about your perspective on acting. Obviously, acting is very present in opera, acting is very present in ballet, and in the commercial work too, in the film work too. So
Mhm.
would you talk a little bit about your feelings about acting and the role that it plays in your work, and just whatever else you want to say about it?
I could honestly go on forever about this
Yeah.
because it was the most life-changing thing I ever did for myself. Like, I'm still to this day think it's the best gift I ever gave myself was
What
going.
prompted you to do it?
I was having burnout actually. I was really, I'm, if I'm totally honest, I was absolutely overwhelmed. Not overwhelmed. I'm a total perfectionist and a very OCD person, and I want only the best, and I only expect only the best for myself. And so I was very hard on myself, and I was mentally struggling for a while as a professional dancer, just because of the pressure I was putting on myself. And I reached a limit where I realized, like, I was dealing with some problems of my own, and I needed a break. I really needed a break, and I loved acting. I've always been interested in it. And I took a sabbatical, and then I came back to dancing again. I went to Esper Studios in New York City, which is the Meisner program. I did that full time for a year in New York, and then I came back to dancing, and I danced for a couple more years, and then I ended up wanting to continue it. So I moved to LA. Um, and I was full time in the Meisner program there, and I started it again from the beginning because it had been a couple of years, and I wanted to start it again. So I was with Baron Brown Studios in Los Angeles, and um, just it is like it's better than therapy, that's for sure. I love therapy. I go to therapy too, but it,
We all go to, yeah, that's it.
it was it changed my whole perspective on myself myself, first of all, my acceptance of myself in relationship to other people, and also what I was trying to get out of performance.
Mhm.
The idea dancers are geared towards perfectionism and emulating and copying and saying yes to everything. And Meisner specifically is a rebound technique of listening and reacting honestly to what you're receiving. Of course, when you go into character work, you have to put a character on
Sure.
top of that. But like you have to synthesize those things. But like first year of um just digging deep and kind of taking off layers of I don't know, propriety, I want to say. You know, I really questioned who I was as a human, and also found out so much about myself as a human.
Mhm,
Being
mhm.
in a space where you're encouraged to be raw and your vulnerabilities are actually are your strengths.
Yes,
So that
huge
was
statement.
mind blowing. And you chip at it, you chip at it for a year. It doesn't happen all of a sudden, like to undo all that stuff, the social construct that you have.
Yeah.
Like it was, yeah, I can't even begin to, I felt like I was reborn. It was crazy. And it it informed how I choreographed as well, so much so. I wouldn't choreograph the way I do now had I not gone to acting school. It just changed my perspective of what I'm looking for, how I want to relate to dancers in the space, um, that that cause and effect with
Mhm,
people.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah. And it does take practice. I tell my mom this sometimes, I wish I could go back to classes more often or take a year off and do that as well again, because
Yeah.
it is a skill and you do have to keep practicing it. Like some of those layers come back again.
Yeah, exactly.
A couple years later, you're like, oh God, like I've forgotten, or this is rusty, or this is not in touch with
Mhm,
what I
mhm,
found at that time.
mhm, mhm.
So I'm realizing that now, actually, that I would like to like question myself again and go back to some of what I was remembering and learning and discovering at that time.
Yeah, I think one of the most beautiful things about it is creating a much keener awareness of oneself and just,
Yeah.
as you said, getting to know who you really are. It's really done that for me as well. I've had, um, when I was singing opera in the early part of my life, I was fearless. I would just go out and, just feel the energy on stage, and just it was a place I just wanted to live all the time. And I love performing piano as well, but I had, for some reason I couldn't figure out, I had a lot of issues with performance anxiety with piano. And um, I had tried so many different things, but the acting really has been what has worked. It is
Amazing.
just, it is, yeah, it is amazing. It's opened, I think it's helped me. Well, the Strasberg method says, helps you learn to be private in a public setting. And
Yeah.
that's the most poignant descriptor I can think of. And the thing that has helped me the most, and the tools that I'm sure you have with the Meisner method, and that I have with the Strasberg method acting, it's just opened so many other layers of awareness, not only of who you are, but of the character of your response, of even the way you view things that have happened in your life that you now draw on as tools as a creator to bring into your work, which again totally recasts those incidents in a
Mhm.
different light. And going back to your comment, it's better than therapy. That's what I found was really key, is just help
Yeah.
separate myself, from those things that we have all things we all have things in our past, but that was just a beautiful, beautiful revelation to me. And it's again, it is a way of life. It's just something that you can practice every day. And I'm really excited, that you have that aspect as well.
I love that you've done that too. It's very hard to explain to people actually,
Yeah.
because it happens in strange stages, and you do feel like you're like cracking open as a person. It's very
Exactly.
something.
You're cracking open the egg and afraid it's gonna, fall apart and you're just gonna be, Humpty Dumpty or something and never be able to put back together. But you are put back together. You're put back together in such a different and more beautiful way, and I think a more complete way. And the vulnerability, you know, you mentioned that your vulnerability is your greatest asset. That is your strength, and learning to accept that and be okay with that, and is just a marvelous process. And
Yes.
yeah, I
And
think,
learning also, like you said, especially with performance anxiety, or like the idea of what you're striving for every day, that it can be different. And the difference is, like, you cannot be your own judge. You have to let it live from where it came from in that space.
yeah,
I mean, that's a lot with that Meisner method, is you can't overproduce a reaction to something that's not a reaction to somebody else, because you can hear it like a key that's off. It's like
exactly,
you're not playing
exactly,
a key that responded to that, and everyone can hear it's not the right key emotionally.
yeah,
So, and if you do that live, it also is over manufactured, and it doesn't, and people are like, well, you can feel that it's not resonating authentically. So,
hmm,
like, allowing performances, for me, that was a big one, was just what things can live differently, and they're going to hit the same notes but maybe slightly differently every time.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
not judging it.
absolutely, absolutely, and just I think just this the different things, being able, it's like dancing in a way, because it's being able to feel you're in control of your body. It enables you to feel in control of your emotions and your responses, and
Mhm.
yet give a really authentic, performance and portrayal. And I can see how you could definitely use that in your other work. Um, I always like to ask choreographers how it is working with different company dancers, dancers at different companies. And, they're different. They bring different things to your art. And one of the things that really fascinates me about what you guys do is, you come in, I know here in Richmond, you come in and you spend a couple of weeks, or you spend maybe 2 or 3 days, and you make this ballet on our dancers. And then, I mean, it's such a short time. I guess you have the idea, maybe you pick the music and things, but things don't really form until you're actually here working with the dancers and you create this beautiful work of art. And I know that different groups of dancers bring different things to that process. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that is for you and what you love about doing that?
Mhm. I think I love people. I love dancers. Dancers are amazing.
Yeah.
Dancers are just so brave. They are also expected to be vulnerable, but they're also expected to be incredibly skilled within their body at the same time. It's a huge ask. They're amazing. And at Richmond, they learn things incredibly fast because they work fast there with a lot of makers. So I find that to just be great. I enjoy meeting new people all the time and working with them. And then you always know it's going to be different because of the humans that you're working with.
Yep.
The fear of like, oh, I'm just going to repeat myself, or I'm thinking it's going to go this way and over manufacture towards one direction, and the dancers pull you in another direction just because of who they are and what they give you. Like, you have to be open to it and respond to it. But I've learned a little this year, a bit more, that I'm trying to also, I'm I, I'm a pretty I would say I want what I want,
Yeah.
but
I
but
understand that
I'm
completely.
always open up to I'm always up for collaboration because I think they're phenomenal and they only
Yeah.
make you. But I have also learned not to get steamrolled by other people's ideas.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had moments years back where it's waxed and waned depending on who I work with.
Hmm.
And lately, maybe it's just my age and the difference between the age groups that I'm now working with. I'm more clear with trying to keep my vision and intent clear,
Yeah.
and still collaborate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
But
that.
all of the dancers are in different companies are different. They are different. They're different because of the culture of a company that's usually
Mhm,
set up by the director. They're
mhm,
different in terms of skill level.
mhm.
And they're also different in terms of artistic freedom. Some places are really technical go-getters and maybe not as free to play in the studio, and you'll find another company that's encouraged more just in the culture of the company. So that can change a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I'm going to ask you another quick question, spring this on you. How do you envision the future of ballet? You know, we hear so much talk we have in the past about, I mean, this applies to opera, this applies to classical music, you know, and also ballet. What does the future look like to you? I mean, as much as you, what are your thoughts about it? Maybe that's a better way to phrase it.
Hmm. I want to remain hopeful that it's going to be a supported art form here in the States, particularly. I am hopeful because I think even like I was saying with commercial dance and TikTok, and I do think people understand the impact of dance. They do. You just
Hmm.
get it. You dance
Hmm.
naturally from when you're a little kid. You understand what it does for you and your body and watching it.
Yeah,
But COVID has changed how we go to the theater. So and our administration's also changed how we go to the theater. It is changing. It's been changing for a while. So one way or the other, whether you're on, I'm not going to go into politics about it, but it's like
yeah,
how to get people to come and experience live dance. I think that the challenge right now sits more with the administrative and directors and executive boards more than it does with the dancers at all, because dancers are willing and able and cool and
yeah.
so much more skilled than they used to be because of YouTube and the whole thing.
Hmm.
But it's it's challenging for everyone right now how to keep the system alive.
Yeah,
What do I see for in the future? I see a resurgence. I do. I think it's not been that long since COVID, first of all. And I think hard times, have categorically brought out the best in the arts.
yeah.
So how do we like how do we encourage people to experience things off their screens is our biggest challenge right now.
Yeah. You know, I see the same resurgence. I was really happy to hear you say that. I see the
Mm.
same resurgence because, you know, there's still lots of kids taking ballet.
Yeah.
And especially programs, you know, give a little shout out to our Richmond Ballet Company here, you know, programs like Minds in Motion and that groom kids. And of course, not every one of those is going to be a professional dancer, but at the same time, several of our dancers have come through that program, and
Mhm.
it's just such a wonderful thing. I believe that we do. And then in classical music, I see so many young people. I see so many. There's so many young pianists. There are competitions. Everybody's, you know, so many piano teachers and things going on, and opera as well. You know, one thing I love about our Virginia operas, they have this, I think it's maybe under 35 or 40 um, group that's called Prism, and I love that I mean, they dress up. I grew up in a time when you dressed up formally to go to the opera, and
Yeah.
a lot of these young people are doing this, and it just makes my heart so happy when I go to the opera and I looked at my husband, I said, okay, we are coming black tie next time. It's just this is the way it is, you know. But I think there is a resurgence, not just because of COVID, but maybe I think even before COVID, interest was waning quite a bit. But I think, you know, there's something about these generations coming up, I think that's bringing that back and bringing the love of the classics back, may probably in a different way, obviously, but it's very, very encouraging to me. And I also have a lot of big hopes. Um, okay, so upcoming projects. I'm gonna again shout out. You're coming back to work with us here in Richmond, and I'm so
Yep.
excited about that in October. Would you
Thank
talk to us just a little bit, however you feel, you know, don't want to reveal too much, but just give kind of a teaser, I guess, for that work, and then any other projects that you'd like to highlight coming up right now for you.
you. Well, I'm going to be there in is it 3 weeks? 3 weeks from now. I have a tech week next week in Cincinnati Ballet. My show goes up on Friday, and then I'll be with you just after that. So, Richmond Ballet that was originally commissioned 2 years ago. It's commissioned as a new works festival, so shorter pieces
Yeah.
that the has invited some of those pieces that were made throughout that year to be lengthened and elaborated on, and then they're showing it at different bigger theater. So that piece was called Last Touch. Um, the music was Mahler's Fifth Symphony, the Adagietto portion, which is
Oh my gosh.
very well known, but so beautiful.
So beautiful. So
So
beautiful.
beautiful. It's so beautiful.
It is. You can't
So,
say that enough. I
yeah,
know.
it really is. And my grandfather and I, he's passed away now, but the artist, we always had a game of Last Touch. So he lived an hour away, and every time we would stay there for long weekends. And so at the very last moment when we were all in the car, just before about to leave, he would touch you before the car was driving away, and it was always
Oh,
to get
oh,
you
you're
touched.
killing me. Oh my God, this is just so beautiful. You're just right here in my heart. Oh my gosh, this is so lovely. I'm so happy that you have that memory with him and that you're able to turn it into this beautiful artistic work, which I cannot wait to see.
I'm
Um,
excited. I have to expand it now. So that whole theme was sort of, I just grew it out a little to an idea of purgatory, of having left the earth, but you have one last touch with somebody that's also around, and they
oh,
kind of sense
wow.
each other and they get one last moment before they
Oh,
move on. So they have like these last goodbyes or hellos with each
oh
other.
my gosh, set to Mahler. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
three couples, but it's very intimate, and it was a young lover couple, a brother and sister. You can interpret it as friends too, much more platonic looking, and then an older couple that had gone through a lifetime together.
Sounds absolutely amazing. Just like every other work I've done, I've seen of yours.
Hmm.
Um, Anything else that that you want to tell us about, really exciting, that you're particularly excited about?
Yeah, I'm always working on things, which is
Which is
um
lovely.
very nice. I'm so grateful. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Ballet in San Francisco, I'll be doing coming up. I'm more actively working on that. And then I'll be restaging, which I'm actually excited about. It'll be the third time I'll be restaging a piece that I'm really proud of. It's called Stand to Reason, and that's going to be in Royal New Zealand Ballet. I have a couple of ballets that are being restaged at the moment, and next year they're licensed, having been created on somewhere else, and then another company is doing them. But new works, I'm excited for Smew, and I've never worked with them before, so that's a new adventure. The other companies next year, I think I've worked with almost all of them, and we'll be doing Appalachian Spring again with the orchestra at the Whitney Hall with Teddy, which I'm really very, very excited.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah,
like some really, really wonderful and exciting stuff for you ahead.
yeah. I
And I know
feel.
at some point you're going to fit some acting back into that, some form. I know acting is in there, but just, taking a little teensy sabbatical maybe.
I want to. I want to.
I think you should. I think you should find a way to make that happen.
Maybe, yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you know. I'm so glad you know about that. I gotta find the time again. I miss it. I really do.
I know. I love knowing that about you too. And I just love that we met however many years ago it was, at
Yeah.
Richmond. It's just been wonderful getting to know you. And thank you so much for being here today
Thank
and
you for having
helping
me.
our viewers and listeners get to know a little bit more about you as well.
Thank you.
And that's it for this episode of Talking Shop. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.